Hi students, I'm your Dr. Rajiv Shetty. So today we'll be discussing few salient points on COVID-19 coronavirus disease which happened in December 2019. So all the points which are necessary for your exams, basic level of questions which can be framed on this topic. So this keeps on evolving, this topic keeps on evolving with time. So whatever we know till now, let us discuss few important points. So the whole outbreak started in China. So the main epicenter was Wuhan city in China, and there was a link with live food market. So the whole outbreak started in this place, Wuhan, China. So the timeline, what has happened with respect to COVID-19 is December 31st, cases of pneumonia of unknown etiology was reported to WHO. So they reported few cases of pneumonia of unknown etiology to WHO. So this was the main time limit. And then on 7th January, this virus was labeled as novel coronavirus. Novel coronavirus because it was a new strain which was not linked with previous virus. So N for novel, new coronavirus. Then on 30th January, this event was labeled as public health emergency of international concern. So this was labeled by WHO as public health emergency of international concern. And on the same date, important, there was first case in India. So it happened in Kerala, the first case in India. Then important date, 11th February, this disease was labeled as COVID, coronavirus disease, 2019. So this was labeled as COVID-19. Then on 11th March, this event was labeled as global pandemic because so many countries were involved. So this is the time limit. Important, out of all these dates, very important is 30th January. So what they can ask, when was this event labeled as public health emergency of international concern, 30th Jan? When was first case in India, 30th Jan? So this date is very important. Now coming to the event called as public health emergency of international concern. So what is public health emergency of international concern? It is a formal declaration by WHO. So WHO should decide this event is for international concern and they have to give saying this is public health emergency of international concern. So as per the definition of public health emergency of international concern, it is an extraordinary event posing a public health risk through international spread, and it requires a coordinated international response. So every country should work together and it requires a coordinated international response. Then it is a serious, sudden, unusual event which carries implication for public health beyond the affected state's national border, means it is spreading outside the country's limit. So everyone should work together and requires immediate international action. So that is public health emergency of international concern. So which committee can decide this? Important. It is decided by IHR Emergency Committee. IHR is International Health Regulation Emergency Committee. It has international experts sitting together and they will decide. When was this committee framed? This committee was framed following SARS outbreak in 2002-2003. There was SARS outbreak. The committee was framed then, and this committee will decide whether the event is public health emergency of international concern or not. Important. Then since 2009, important, there have been 6 events which has been declared like this. One is 2009 swine flu pandemic. Second, 2014 polio declaration. There were some cases of polio in 2014 in the world, not in our country. 2014 outbreak of Ebola in West Africa. 2015-16 Zika virus epidemic. The ongoing 2018-20 Kivu Ebola epidemic and the recent COVID-19 pandemic. They can ask the question, all are six, like all are public health emergency of international concern events except, they can frame a question like this. So remember, total there are six events. Then come to agent. What has happened with COVID? The agent is SARS coronavirus 2. So it is not SARS coronavirus 1. SARS coronavirus 1 had an outbreak around 2002-2003. Now what is happening is it is SARS coronavirus 2 causing disease called as COVID-19, and it is single stranded RNA virus. The agent is SARS coronavirus 2. The disease is COVID-19. So this virus resembles one, that is SARS coronavirus, had an outbreak in China in 2002 and 2003. It also resembles MERS coronavirus. Important, this was an outbreak in 2012 in Saudi. So this SARS coronavirus 2, which is causing COVID now, it resembles two viruses. One is SARS coronavirus, the other is MERS coronavirus. So coming to the reservoir of this virus, so from where the virus originates and how we are affected in this. So first see the image here. There is bat, which is the natural reservoir. So this virus stays in this mammal, and how man is affected, it can be direct. You are exposed to bat secretions, that can be one route, or else through an intermediate host. That can be the link in between two. So for example, for MERS coronavirus, it was camel. Important, MERS is Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. So for that, it is camel. Those who worked with camels, they were exposed to secretions and they suffered respiratory injury. So the second, the SARS coronavirus, the intermediate host was civet cats. And for COVID, still it is not confirmed, so there is a question mark there. So this pangolins can be one of the intermediate host. So what I am saying is the natural reservoir for all these three viruses is bat. And then the intermediate host, they can ask the question, they can match the following also. So for MERS it is camel, SARS coronavirus civet cats. For COVID, that is SARS coronavirus 2, pangolin can be the intermediate host. Still studies will be going on, and then they can give one confirmatory report later on. So by this, when you are exposed later, this is how you get infection. So the mode of transmission. One is important, that is animal to man. So once man is infected, then there is man-to-man transmission. So how we are affected? Through one respiratory droplet. So when I cough, sneeze, if there is a patient in contact with you, coughing, sneezing, so that is direct contact when you are exposed to a patient. Or else the patient cough, sneeze, so it sits on the fomite, then when you go and touch it, then you touch your mouth, eyes, nose, that is indirect contact through fomites. Or it can be through droplet nuclei, small nuclei which can go through air for a longer distance, usually seen when there is aerosol generating procedures. When you are working with a patient, then there can be a risk of droplet nuclei spread also. So the image which can summarize this mode of transmission, listen, there is a patient who is infected and then there is droplets. So first the patient who is infected, then droplets. Listen now, you can see the size of these. They are more than 5 micron in size and they travel less than 1 meter distance, because the particle is heavier or the size is big, they travel less. You can remember like this. So it is more than 5 microns and they travel less than 1 meter, that is droplet. So when you are exposed to droplets, you can get infection, or the droplet sits on these non-living objects. When you touch all this, and then there is indirect contact also. So one is directly exposed, or through fomites you can get infection. That is for droplets, respiratory droplets. Now what is droplet nuclei? So droplet nuclei, the size will be very less. You can see the image. The size is less than 5 microns and they travel more than 1 meter. So the distance they travel is more. So that is what is called as airborne transmission. Airborne transmission is through droplet nuclei. If they ask this question, airborne is through droplet nuclei. So later you will get infection. So that is how COVID spreads, mode of transmission. So once exposed to droplets and droplet nuclei, and we are infected. This is the mode of transmission. So now come to incubation period. After exposure, how many days it will take for you to present with symptoms, that is incubation period. So in case of COVID, it is 2 to 14 days. It is a long range. Some books can give some other values, but this is the most appropriate value, 2 to 14 days. Remember the importance of 14 days, that is longest incubation period. So what is for SARS? It is 2 to 7 days. They can ask this SARS coronavirus, and MERS 5 to 6 days. So but now very important is 2 to 14 days. 2 to 14 days is for COVID. So what is basic reproductive rate of this infection? So what do you mean by basic reproductive rate? So one patient, infected person, when he is giving infection, so how many are infected? So the average number of people infected by one person. The average number of people infected by one person. Very important. If it is high, it is very difficult to control the outbreak. So see the image for COVID. It is around 2 to 2.5. So this is important. When you can do social distancing, when you can do lockdown, so you can reduce this. You can reduce this basic reproductive rate, because you are not exposed to this, then the whole average will come down. So that is the main purpose of social distancing, lockdown, is to reduce basic reproductive rate. So it is very easy to control. Later on we can flatten the curve. So important number. So this is the reference. Some books can say 2, some books can go till 2.7, 2.8. So the value is around 2 to 2.5. For SARS it is more. SARS coronavirus it is 3.5. For MERS it is less. If they ask you to arrange in a sequence highest to lowest, SARS coronavirus, then comes COVID, then comes MERS. They can frame questions like this. It is up to the examiner to know this and frame a question, arrange in a sequence, or which is highest. I will mark it as SARS coronavirus, which is in between COVID, which is least MERS. So this is the importance of basic reproductive rate. Case fatality is also very important. Virulence, that will make some news. So how many are dead out of total cases? How many will die? So the case fatality rate, again it ranges. The global value can range from 2 to 6%. That depends on the country. India, the whole average is around 3%. You can remember the number 3% for India. SARS it is 10%. For MERS it is 30 to 35%. Important, again, if they ask you to arrange in highest to lowest, remember MERS basic reproductive rate is least, but case fatality is more. Case fatality is more. So in these three tables, I'm comparing three things: incubation period, basic reproductive rate, and case fatality rate. So very important questions can be framed, or they can ask you to arrange in a sequence highest to lowest, or they can ask how much is for COVID in India. It is around 3%. So come to clinical features. So mainly medicine. So what you should know, overall one idea should be there for you in PSM. So the most common symptom, the most common symptom the patient will present with? What is the answer? Answer is fever. Around 85% of the cases they present with fever. What is the second most common symptom out of this? The answer is dry cough. Around 60% of the patients can present with these symptoms. So if they ask what is the most common symptom of COVID, it is fever. So that is most important. Usually you should know all the basic points rather than knowing everything and confusing in between. Main things you should know, and you should be sure shot. This is the thing what is happening. I know this. Most common symptom is fever. In around 85% of the cases, you should have this much level of confidence at least. So the next thing what they can ask is case definitions as per WHO. There are three case definitions. One is suspect case, second is probable case, the third is confirmed case. What is suspect case? 1. A patient with acute respiratory illness and there is a history of travel to a locality where there was transmission of COVID 14 days prior to symptom onset. So remember two things, acute respiratory illness and history of travel. This is one definition. Second, a patient with acute respiratory illness and he was in contact with a confirmed or a probable COVID case. So it is acute respiratory illness or having an history of contact. So acute respiratory illness plus history of contact. Third definition is acute respiratory infection, yes, and that requires hospitalization because it is serious respiratory failure requiring hospitalization. So all these three are definitions of suspect case. Remember, acute respiratory illness is common for all this. 1. History of travel. 2. History of contact. 3. Requiring hospitalization. Remember like this, requiring hospitalization. Second, what is a probable case? Probable case is a suspect case for whom testing for COVID-19 is inconclusive. The results are not conclusive. That is probable case. The third is confirmed case. Confirmed case is a person with laboratory confirmation of COVID-19 infection. So tested and tested positive. So next, what is the diagnosis? Diagnosis, you should know the sample taken, nasopharyngeal swab, important, and the test done. RT polymerase chain reaction. So these two things you should know properly. So the sample taken and the test done. Now coming to very important part, that is prevention and control. What has been done to take control of this pandemic? One, important for the patient, it is isolation. So you keep in isolation wards until the patient is tested negative. So what is for the contacts? We do quarantine. Quarantine is for the exposed individual who are taken as exposed. One is contact. Second is if there is any history of travel to infected locality, you will be quarantined. You will be under observation for longest incubation period, that is 14 days. So quarantine is for exposed, yes, who are taken as exposed, contacts, and who had an history of travel. And for how many days? 14 days. We are under, or the individual is under observation, important. Now the next thing is hand hygiene. So when you are touching fomites, so what are the precautions to be taken? So prevention, so one is hand rub. So use a sanitizer. The question can be alcohol based hand sanitizer, correct? What is the concentration? More than 60% ethanol or 70%, that is more than 70% isopropanol. So what is the composition for your sanitizer? Alcohol based hand sanitizer. I am telling the concentration of alcohol. There can be glycerin, there can be some other constituents in the sanitizer, but they can ask what is the composition of alcohol used in alcohol based hand sanitizer. One question. And second, hand wash, very important. The duration is minimum at least 20 seconds with soap and water. So hand washing, yes, important. They have framed so many questions on hand washing in your exams. They can ask two more things in hand washing. Moments of hand washing when we have to wash hand, being a healthcare worker, I am telling. And next is what are the different steps, sequence of hand washing as per WHO, I am telling. So one is moments and the second is steps. You should know these things because they are repeatedly asked in the exam. So moments of hand washing, there are 5 moments. So 1, before touching the patient, important. 2, before doing any procedure, before doing a procedure. Next, 3, after body fluid exposure risk. If you have done any procedure which has body fluid exposure risk, yes, wash your hands. Important. After touching a patient, yes, anything after any procedure, after touching a patient. And the fifth is after touching the patient surroundings. So in all these situations, hand washing should be done. They can ask this question, how many moments? And all these are moments except, they can frame a question like all except question also for you. So remember these 5 moments of hand washing. Now come to steps of hand washing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, total 6 steps. Some books they add 8 steps. They will include wrist and forearms also. So for hands I am telling there are 6 steps. One is palm to palm. You are rubbing palm to palm, rub palms together. Second, back of the hands. So it is dorsum, back of the hands. Then third, important, fingers. Interlace your fingers and rub your hands together. Then fourth is interlocking your fingers. Important, interlocking your fingers. Then fifth, it is thumb, rotatory motion. Thumb, rotatory motion. So last step is in your palm, rotating this. So rotating the fingertips, rotating the fingertips. So there is a mnemonic which we usually practice, which we usually know, that is PDF ITR, PDF format, income tax return, income tax return. P for palms, D for dorsum, F for fingers, I for interlocking, T for thumb, R for rotating the fingertips. So palms, dorsum, fingers, interlocking, thumb and rotating your fingertips. So total 6 steps. Some books they add 2 more things, wrist and forearm, so that will become 8. So for you 6 steps are important. They will ask you to arrange in a sequence. Next, respiratory hygiene is very important. Since it is through droplets, respiratory hygiene is also important. So what we have to use to protect ourselves, we have mask and we have respirators. Respirators are important. It will protect those who wear also. So if you are wearing a respirator N95, so that will protect you also. So there are 2 types of respirators, very important questions. They can frame a difficult question on this also. One is type of mask, means you have to use the word type of respirator there, one thing. Then what is the efficiency, filtration efficiency. So there are 2 classification systems important. One is American classification system. They use the term N95, N99 like that. So what is 95 in this? That is the filtration efficiency, So N95, N99, which is better? N99 is better. So what is European classification system? You can get respirators in your market like they are labeled as FFPs. Filtering phase piece. There are 3 things, FFP1, FFP2, FFP3, which is more efficient. So as per the numbers, FFP3 is more efficient. So what is N95, N99, which is more efficient? As per the numbers, once you increase the number, efficiency can increase. So they can ask you to arrange in an order also. So take a snapshot of this table. You can pause the video and take a snapshot of this table, important. So repeat, there are 2 types of classification system, American and European. N95, N99, these are American classification system, and Europeans they use the word FFP1, FFP2 and 3. These are questions on respirators. I'm discussing all the basic things, what you should know, and you should know important things for exams. So there are so many difficult things in COVID, but I'm discussing all the basic points. Now come to the mask images N95, N99. You can see here FFP2 and FFP3 also. Now come to the next. One more thing what is important is N95 mask. What is most commonly used nowadays? That is most of the times N95 mask. So now come to social distancing. That is one more important thing. We have to maintain a distance. We have to maintain a distance. So social distancing as per WHO or Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, they advise 1 meter. They advise 1 meter. That is 3 feet distance in between two individuals. And CDC they advise 2 meters, 6 feet. So usually we follow WHO guidelines or Ministry of Health and Family Welfare guidelines. We ask to maintain a distance of 1 meter, that is 3 feet distance. But yes, 6 feet is the ideal value. 6 feet is the ideal value. But what we are following now, it is 1 meter, 3 feet social distancing. Disinfection, important, very important things. And we also have disinfection tunnels also in some cities. What they are using within this, that can be one more question. They are using 1% sodium hypochlorite. So 1% sodium hypochlorite is the bleach used in disinfection. If there is some metallic surfaces where bleach is not advisable, then you go for 70% alcohol. Then you can rub the metallic surfaces. So that will ensure disinfection. But usually they will ask the question and they can frame a question what is used. So 1% sodium hypochlorite, 1% sodium hypochlorite. Now come to important one more update on COVID, that is antibody detection kit, that is Kavach ELISA kit. It is antibody detection kit. One, not for diagnostic purpose, usually for surveillance purpose. How many are exposed, how many are infected in the community. Population based surveillance, if they are doing population based surveillance, they can use this kit, Kavach kit. It was devised by Pune, National Institute of Virology, Pune. Which institute gave this kit? It was devised by NIV, Pune, National Institute of Virology. And one more thing you should know, see the logo, very important. They can ask this question. This is related to which application? Yes, it is a mobile based application, Arogya Setu. So it is under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. This ministry has given this application. Usually the main purpose is contact tracing, syndrome mapping and self-assessment. Digital service. In your mobile you can use this. They can ask these questions, contact tracing, yes, syndrome mapping and self-assessment. Because Arogya Setu has 4 sections. 4 sections. 1, user status. You'll feed the data and it will tell the risk of getting COVID-19 for the user. What is your risk and what is surrounding, whether you have a case in and around your area or a contact, how many are quarantined, like that. Your status and your risk of getting COVID, that is one thing. Second, self-assessment, your risk profile based on your symptoms. What is the status for you? It is helping in self-assessment also, important. COVID-19 updates, how many cases, India, local, etc. Then e-pass, if you are applying for e-pass to travel, it was also given through this application also. These are the 4 sections which was available in this Arogya Setu app. Slowly when they update, they can add some more other features or they can delete some features. But the question for you at your level, logo can be shown. This is for Arogya Setu. Ministry can be asked, yes. And what is the advantage of this? Yes, user status, self-assessment updates, e-pass integration. All these are advantages of Arogya Setu app. So students, coming to the last slide. Thank you so much for watching this video. So in this video we have discussed all the basic points which are very important and you should know before facing any examination. So examiners, they can ask very difficult questions also, but you should know basic things. Once you know what is this, and that basic things are very important for exams. So for example, if I summarize this video from starting to last, epicenter Wuhan, China, time limit, timelines you should be knowing, then the agent SARS coronavirus 2, reservoir bats, Mode of transmission, respiratory droplets, then clinical feature, then WHO case definition, then diagnostic procedure, prevention and control part is very important, isolation, quarantine, hand hygiene, respiratory hygiene, then come to the last two things, that is Kavach ELISA and Arogya Setu application, along with what are the chemicals used in disinfection. So once you know all basic points, if someone is asking, you're a doctor, what is the chemical they're spraying outside, then you'll be telling 1% sodium hypochlorite. Very good confidence. What is the swab they're taking, nasopharyngeal swab, what test can be done, RT-PCR. So that gives sense of confidence while speaking to someone, rather than saying no, that confusion mode, no. All basic things you should be knowing. Exams, they can ask some difficult things also. So finally, I tried to cover all the basic points for COVID-19 in this video, around 25 minutes. Keep a note and make note of things which I told you. And again, for your NEET exams, I'll make one more video that will have some updates, because things keep on evolving with time. New things will come, and if there is any change, I will update in that video. So again, thank you so much. Join my Facebook group for all my updates at one place. So keep learning, so keep revising. Thank you so much.